Tennessee Titans fans, it is that time of the week again where we get onto the Tennessee Titans Reddit to see what fans are talking about. And this may be an interesting one after the week the Titans have had. A win, a big upset win that's got the fan base feeling more optimistic and positive about the direction of the team. So let's see what they're talking about in Reddit land for the Tennessee Titans. Up first, this post is from Accomplished East 433. Does Levis get another year? So we're just getting right into it. From the game on Sunday, I feel like he's deserving of another year. He and NWI click. It just needs to stop. He just needs to stop with the turnovers. What do y'all think? Well, it's not just NWI that he's clicking with. It's Calvin Ridley as well, and that's even better news for the Titans because that's the wide receiver that they paid a lot of money to come in here. And Will Levis, I think the connection between he and Calvin Ridley has took off as well. Or taken off as well would be the proper way to say that. So Will Levis has been very good. I think he's gotten better every week since he came back from the injury. Thought he was pretty good against the Chargers. Thought he was good against the Vikings. Thought he was very good against the Texans. There's 6 games to go. At this point, currently, right now, I am convinced that coming back with Will Levis next year may be the best option. I'm not sold on anybody in the draft. None of the free agents out there excite me, and Will Levis is getting better. But like this poster said, he's got to get rid of these crazy turnovers. The pick sixes, that stuff's got to go. Obviously, we don't expect him to be perfect, but that stuff's got to go. But Will Levis is getting better, and if he continues to get better over these last 6 games, if he continues to play well, then at the end of the season, regardless of what the record is, it is a no-brainer. Will Levis should be back next year. Need a vacation says, can we give this man some love? Clutch all day yesterday, Sunday, from 50 plus, and he is talking about Nick Folk. I mean, listen, you got to remember, us Tennessee Titans fans, we had some bad luck with kickers there for a few years. We could not get a good kicker to save our lives. So I do not want to take Nick Folk for granted. He has been so good for the Titans. I think he's only missed 1 kick this season. And Sunday, he was a big part of the reason why the Titans beat the Texans. 3 field goals from 50 plus. I think even 1 from 56 going into the half. And the Titans won by 5. So, I mean, these are huge field goals that Nick Folk is making. He's 40 years old. And he's a weapon. He's a weapon for the Tennessee Titans. He is still kicking his rear end off at 40. Great kicker, Nick Folk. I'm glad to have him. Have a great day, 31, says Colt Anderson. We all know how abysmal our special teams has been. Shout out Nick Folk for being the lone bright spot. I'm a noob when it comes to special team strategy, so I'm curious, what exactly is going wrong here? Is this on leadership? Are we just not prepared? Is it a personnel issue? Or is it something else entirely? Would love to hear from those who understand the nuances of special teams better than I do. How much of this falls on Colt Anderson, and do you think he'll get fired? I think is the question he's trying to ask. So, I don't claim to be a special teams expert, but I do believe that all of those things you suggested are at play. There are a lot of people who think that if the Titans fired Colt Anderson right now, that it would just fix everything. Everything would be great. Everything would be awesome. And the sun would be shining brighter. And Titan special teams would be fixed. This is not just a Colt Anderson issue. I think part of it is a personnel issue. I think that Rand Carthon made a mistake in letting certain guys go and not putting certain guys on the roster, such as Hassan Haskins, who is now with the Chargers, but Hassan Haskins is a great special teams player. I think Rand Carthon probably made a mistake letting some of the good special teams players go that the Titans had in here. I think that is part of the problem. I also think there are times where, special teams is about effort. And I think what we saw on the opening kickoff Sunday, where the Titans had the Texans returner bottled up and then let him go, that's kind of an effort issue, in my opinion. I think that also it's guys giving up contain on the outside. I think Mike Brown was one of them, and I don't remember who the other guy was, but they're coming down inside, they're giving up the outside, so now that runner has a lane to go around. So that's a coaching issue as well. I think at this point, Brian Callahan needs to send a message that this is not okay. I mean, this is unbelievable. I've never seen a special teams unit just come out every single week and be awful. And I think it's the thing that I'm most unhappy with about Brian Callahan's performance so far this season is that we're continuing on with this. I'm not saying if you fire Colt Anderson, it'll fix everything. And I hate to call for a man's job, but I mean, this is just unacceptable. What we are witnessing from the Tennessee Titans special teams led by Colt Anderson, it's just hideous every single week. And I think there's a lot of reasons why, but eventually you got to look at the coach. Nathan67 says, just talked to my friend who works in the Titans equipment department. You might find his comments about Will Levis interesting. This is apparently a quote. This can't be real. Levis is a silky, silky yam and a big boy. Monster arms of a man, plays hard, and the Titans are aware of this hard man. They will play him often and hard, and Levis will throw his arm off. Unbelievable. I'm just going to go ahead and say the word hard is in that post. Way too much. Way too much hard in that post. I'm going to assume that was not real, because that's a very disturbing way to describe a man. Disturbing way to describe anybody. A name that I will not repeat posted this and said, serious improvement from Callahan and Levis. In my opinion, this was probably the best coaching job Callahan has had, and was one of the best games Levis has had in his career. Just want to know y'all's opinion on what we took from this game. I'm mostly going to talk about Callahan here because I've already talked about Levis. But, I mean, listen, I'm more encouraged about Brian Callahan. One of the reasons I'm more encouraged about him, it's not just the win, but even against Minnesota in a loss, this locker room is still fighting. These guys are still fighting for this guy. We see other teams in the NFL, the Jaguars come to mind, the Giants come to mind, teams that have quit, teams that have pretty much come out low energy. They know their coach probably getting fired, or they're mad at the coach for cutting the quarterback in the middle of the year. The Titans have not quit. And it's not just because they're technically still alive in the hunt, but I think that's a good sign for Brian Callahan. Talked about this on the podcast the other day, but Quandre Diggs is a guy who's done for the season. He's on a one-year deal. There is certainly no guarantee that he's even going to be back here next season, but he's still tweeting things like, hey, tighten up. How about those Titans? When you have a veteran player who's not even guaranteed to be back and he's done for the season and he's still engaged with what's going on and he's a part of rooting for the team and trying to be there for the team, that's a good sign for Brian Callahan, in my opinion, that he's still got this guy on board. And the guys that are still fighting, the team still looks like they're together. I was worried weeks ago that Brian Callahan was going to lose this locker room. I'm not as worried about that anymore because it looks like he has not lost the locker room. These guys are still fighting. And when you look at film breakdowns, Brian Callahan is doing some really cool stuff offensively with his formations and with his play calling. So I'm willing to be patient with Brian Callahan. I think by beating Houston the other day, how much that means to this organization, I think he absolutely has job security. I absolutely think he'll be back next season, no doubt about it now. And I think we talk about being patient with Will Levis. I think you need to be patient with Brian Callahan as well, I guess, because, I mean, Dan Campbell had a terrible season in his first year with the Detroit Lions. There are tons of instances where coaches get off to a tough start, especially a first-time head coach who's got to kind of figure out how to work his way and maneuver his way through this thing. So I think we need to be more patient with him, I guess. Houston is me. Said, this was, of course, the day of the game. Today was a good day. Tighten up. And, of course, posted the meme of the smiling guy holding up the Titans flag. I added that post in here because I'm not going to lie to you. Maybe it's just because it's Thanksgiving week. But, I mean, that warmed my heart. That warmed my heart to see that because it's been a tough season. I mean, let's just be honest. It's been a tough season for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, getting 0-3 the start with the how terrible the loss to the Bears was, the loss to the Jets, I was there for that one, brutal. Quarterback was not playing nearly as well as what we'd hoped. We get smoked by Malik Willis, of all people, in week 3. And then, we lost a game to the Colts where we looked really bad, and Will Levis didn't look good, and then he was hurt, and we went and got our brains beat in by Buffalo and Detroit. I mean, these were tough weeks. And I'm not even going to lie to you. I think the fan base deserved this moment Sunday to get a big win on the road, to, no matter what the record ends up being at the end, to renew our confidence in Will, to renew our confidence in Callahan, and to see that this can work. What they're trying to do can work. And to see Will Levis developing, and to beat a rival on the road, pull the huge upset, it felt good, man, and we needed it. If people talk about the draft and tanking for the draft, man, we needed this moment. We needed this moment. We needed a victory Monday. We needed to see our team not just beat the Patriots, not just beat what was left of the Dolphins in week 4 when they had Tyler Snoop Huntley, but to see our team actually beat a good team on the road in a close game, facing tons of adversity, and to respond and win, just felt good, man. We needed it as a fan base. I don't know what the record's going to be at the end, but we needed to see that to renew our confidence and just to feel something, man. Last post of the day. Thought this was a fun one. The Prophet Sammy says, what was your first game in person? Then they added, yeah, who cares? It's off-season content, but I'm curious. My first NFL game, I want to say I was 7 years old. Tennessee Titans hosting the Cincinnati Bengals in Nashville at Adelphia Coliseum, and the Titans beat the Bengals 35-3 that day. And Steve McNair was great in that game. I remember that I got hooked right there. Steve, Eddie George, Frank Wycheck, all of those guys were on that team. Derek Mason, Javon Curse. And, that was about all I needed to see. And now here I am. Two-tone blue through and through. Let me know what you think about any of these topics, whether you agree or disagree. Which one stood out to you? Let me know in the comments below. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Tighten up. Bye.